this book, y'all, I was so, like, this book right here was so, I don't know why. Hi guys, what's up? I'm Summer. Welcome, or perhaps welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a wrap-up video from January to February, and I also would like to put in a little just this little note. Thank you guys so much for the recent support and like subscribers that I've been receiving. It's been so much to me. Also, I'm trying so hard to be consistent, but I'm a full-time college student and the spring semester has started and it has been completely running me over. In fact, yes. So the first book I'm going to start with is The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert. So this book was a cute little book. It's a book that takes place in just one day. This book is about our main character Marva, and she really cares about voting, and she meets this guy at the voting booth that is like completely okay with the fact that they told him he is not registered to vote, even though he knows that he registered. And so we just kind of see both of their perspectives and like how important voting really is to them and how far they'll go to make sure that they can vote, how long they'll wait to make sure that they can vote. And I just thought that this book provoked very thought-provoking conversations. There are some problematic type of stuff with it. If I rate this book, I don't want to rate it less than 4 stars, just because I think it's so incredible that she made a book about teenagers caring about voting, because sometimes that's something that you don't always see. And I also would just like to shout out to the people that actually voted in America. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's just go on and move on to the next book. The next book I read is Red at the Bone, and this is by Jacqueline Woodson. And may I just say, I read Brown Girl Dreaming by her, and I also read a children's book by her, and this woman cannot not write poetic. Like, her writing is always so beautiful, it always flows, and it's so ironic to me because I'll watch interviews of her and she'll talk about how like it just kind of happens, like that's just the type of writer that she is. So beautiful. So the story starts off with a girl named Melody, and she gets pregnant at a very young age, and it honestly just takes you through the whole story of that family's generation. And so it talks a lot about like what every family member has like been through and their perspective of life and their perspective of Melanie getting pregnant at such a young age. And this book was just so beautiful. Like, it really was. Like, there is like a specific part that is so like wrenching to me, like gut wrenching to me. There's this one part about the race massacre where Melody's grandmother talks about how like the white people like praise the flames of their flesh like burning, and it's written like so beautifully that you know obviously what's going on is horrific. Just how she's like describing it and describing what they learned from it and describing like what that generation had been through. I just thought it was so beautiful, honestly. It's a very quick read, so if you have the chance to read it, you should definitely read it. The next book I read was Black Sun, and I had the honor to read this, or buddy read this book with Jayla from All Loves Lit, and we had differences of opinion of this book, like, you know, she gave it like a 10 out of 5 stars and I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I actually did enjoy this book though, and Scorpio is literally like, I probably didn't say his name right, but he's literally like my heart. He is my baby. I do not care how powerful he is. I agree that I will protect him at all costs. I love him. Yeah, she did such a good job writing this book, honestly. Like, it is so beautifully written. I will actually link Lala Loves Lit, Jayla's book review of this book, because I feel like there's so many complex things going on in this story, and she really did a good job in thoroughly like explaining that. And I am actually very excited for the second book. This was kind of like my first like fantasy in a really long time, and I actually did really enjoy this book, so I would recommend it as well. So the next book I read is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, and you guys are not going to believe this. I literally read this book thinking that it was Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson or something like that. I got both of them from my library, and I really thought that I was reading the other one because I started the audiobook When No One Is Watching. Started the audiobook first, and then I finished it off just like regular reading. And I really thought it, like, almost the entire time I thought I was listening to that book. But anyways, When No One Is Watching. Okay, so this book is about Sydney and Theo. So Sydney is a young black woman, and she has experienced like a divorce and all this other type of stuff. And honestly, this book was like so heart-wrenching in all forms of ways, besides the fact that the paranoia and everything like that was there. So Sydney is noticing that people are, or to be more specific, white people are coming into her neighborhood as black people are randomly disappearing. So, and Theo is her neighbor, and he is willing to help her out to kind of see like what's going on, and if there's something like deeper than what's happening, or if it's just an coincidence that as the black people are leaving, that the white people are coming in. This book is described as Get Out meets a book. And so basically it's just like the racial interactions, the power that Sydney feels like she'll never be able to have, how the police treat her in this book, how the white people treat her in general in this book, the comments that they make, the just the fear of Sydney in herself, like feeling like even if she does say something or try to do something, it's not going to matter because she doesn't hold that form of white power that the people around her do. And honestly, just in general, her having to watch her entire neighborhood be gentrified, it was honestly pure terror and pure horror for me, and honestly even like pure paranoia, especially being a person of color in America reading that book. I was just so anxious. Every single page I turned, I was just so anxious, and like I really wanted to jump in the book and save Sydney, but it's like, to be honest, like I don't know what I thought I was gonna do, honestly. I can't talk about like the frustration of this book, just like in general, like reading this. I am not used to reading any forms of like thrillers or like terrors or like horror type of books. I'm not used to doing that. So reading a book like this that is specifically targeted and you know, just kind of centered around the gentrification of black people just had me like, I wasn't okay. I don't think that I was okay. I'm not gonna say I wasn't mentally prepared, but like, geez. It definitely took a different toll and like approached things in a way that I wasn't expecting. Although this was my very first Alyssa Cole book that I read, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I can't say that I enjoyed it because I was paranoid. I originally was gonna give this book a 3-star, but then I thought about the fact that like a black author writing a horror terror, like I feel her level of like how she made Sydney, like I feel the pain. So I was like, you know, and this is also a book that I've still been thinking about, so I was like, no, I have to give this a 4 out of 5 stars. But if you guys have not read it and you get the chance to read it, I actually do encourage you to read it if that's like the type of books that you're mentally prepared for and you're like would like to read. I don't know. The next book I read is With the Fire on High, and Mary, Joseph, and Leah. This book was I love this book so much. This is like my very first Elizabeth Acevedo book. So I experienced reading her book. This is the only one that she's written that is not in verse, I do believe. Y'all, I just don't even know what to say about this book. I actually have an entire girl crush on this book. This book is about our character Amani. I think I pronounced her name right. I just always love the Afro-Latino characters that she brings to life. But so she is an inspiring chef, which, by the way, this book talks a lot about food, and I actually just found out that I enjoy reading books about that. So she's an inspiring chef, like she hopes to be a chef. She is a teenager in high school, obviously. She's a senior in high school. She got pregnant, I believe, her freshman year of high school, as well as we have the baby daddy drama. But on the positive side, the baby daddy is actually in the daughter's life, which is always great to see in a book. I feel like talks a lot about like her work life and like what she does, and like a lot about like her family life. Really truly a lot about like her family life, like engraved into her. And I don't know, like I really just enjoyed this book. I literally read it in like one day. I picked it up in the middle of the night when I could not read, and I finished it by the end of that day, and I just thought it was such a good book. And after I was done, I was like, I need another one of her books. So then I went and I read The Poet X, and this is about our main character, Xiomara. It's just so, like, it's literally heart-wrenching to me. I know I keep saying that about all of them, but it like hurt. Like, it really made me feel something. So I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. If you've read this book, the only character I like besides her is her brother. There is no one else in this book that her brother and like maybe like her best friend. Like, other than that, you know what the dude did was wrong, and I just cannot accept it. I just cannot accept it. But on to the point. So this book is about, yeah, like a young teenage girl, and she is just kind of like trying to find her way and like find out who she is and find out what she actually wants in life and not what like her parents want her to have in life. She deals with so much. I don't really know if this is exactly the way to describe it. Like, I want to say body shame, but let me elaborate. So her being accused or looked at badly because her body is maturing at a young age, and her being considered like the whore or, you know, this type of person just because her body is developing, which is obviously something that no girl has any control over, but it's pointed as being her fault. She's pointed as the bad person because of what her body looks like and what it makes boys that obviously are not raised right treat her as and look at her as. And I just like felt that so much. And she always talked about how like her body is like thick and how she has hips and all this stuff like that. She had to learn how to have skin that was as thick as her body, and I just feel like that's like such a real thing that happens with like society, and obviously it can happen with different cultures, but just in general. And as well as her relationship with her parents, like I felt like it was so sad because it's like she mentions this a lot when she talks about like how her parents were there for her, and you know, people would be like, oh, like, well, at least you have both parents in your life, but like if your parents aren't engaged like positively in your life, then what's the point? I mean, honestly, like what's the point? I mean, you know, she talked about how she was thankful that, you know, she had a house and that, you know, she had somewhere to go, but the way they treated her, like she was like, she didn't matter, like she didn't need a voice. Don't ask me what I want for dinner, don't ask me what I want to wear if you're going to tell me anyways. It's just such a real, like, it's such a real thing. I really kind of just went into this book thinking that it was going to be like a cute, you know, like lovable story about a girl that's a poet. Like that's really what I thought this book was going to be about, and it was honestly so much more in depth than that. The next book I read was the Bromance book club, and I really loved this book. This was another book that I just kind of went into and was just like, let me just try it out since I had already gotten it. Really, I love this book. Like, how could you not? Like, I really love this book. I'm a messy person, as you guys probably already know, so I love the whole like marriages and like marriages trying to be together and da. So this book is about Gavin, who is a professional baseball player, and his wife Thea. And basically Gavin finds out that his wife has been faking it in bed, and he is completely humiliated, of course. And so in return, Thea kind of still doesn't want to like talk about it because she didn't want to like, you know, ruin his confidence and all of that stuff. And so then when they don't technically like have a conversation about it because Gavin is so upset, so he ends up leaving, which is a big no because Thea has been through so much. So when he leaves, Thea has came to the conclusion that she just wants to get a divorce from him, and at the time being, you know, Gavin's just kind of like, you know, like whatever, like I'm upset, I'm still leaving. Okay, so he finds himself in a hotel room drunk, and he's very upset, and his friends come, his baseball friends come, and they're like, dude, like what's wrong, and and he tells them about the fact that, you know, his marriage is basically falling apart and that they are going through a divorce, and he doesn't want to get divorced, he wants to stay together. They have this book club that the guys keep a secret, and it's where they read romance books, and the romance books give them advice on how they should talk to their wives and how they should treat their wives and things of that sort. And so yeah, again, he's just trying to learn how to like re-love her, but they don't want other people to know about the romance book club. So this book is basically all about him learning how to re-love his wife and how to treat her as she actually deserves to be treated. All right, so the next book I read is honestly probably one of the only physical copies that I still have from this months of reading, and it is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. And when I tell you, I pre-ordered this book and I was so super excited. This book follows Maverick Carter, who is Star Carter's father from The Hate You Give, which, are we even gonna go through if you haven't read that? What's wrong? We're not. So like, anyways, you pretty much follow Maverick through his teenage years in high school and on up, and you pretty much just, in this book, Angie Thomas just really shows you how Maverick became to be the amazing father that he is today, and it's just such a good book. I love the book, love the book, love the book, love Angie Thomas, and I'm waiting for the next book. Angie, where is it at? Yeah. But again, if you guys want to see a more thorough review of this, I did make a whole like 13-minute video reviewing this book. The next book I read is Finlay. Donovan is killing it, and this book, y'all, I was so like, this book right here was so freaking good. Like, it was so good to me. Like, it was so good to me. I'm not gonna lie, like, I do kind of like the little like cheesy Lifetime movie books. Okay, let me break it down. Okay, so this is about Finlay, and she is a single mom who's recently went through a divorce. So what happened was her husband cheated on her with their real estate agent. The husband is now living with the real estate agent. The husband and the real estate agent now have money, and she is struggling because she is an aspiring author, and she just kind of gets put down at the fact that she likes to write books and that this is what she's actually doing for a living. She has 2 kids that are driving her absolutely crazy. It's really hard for her to provide for them, and be able to pay the bills in the house that her husband left her in. And so he kind of just tries to control her over the fact that he does pay for her lights and her electricity and all of this, as he should, because the kids are living in his home, though, you know what I mean? Like, he shouldn't not help her out. But so she is struggling. She needs money very, very bad. She is on the verge of doing, I'm not gonna say nearly anything, but you know, she's on the verge of doing a lot to be able to get money. I mean, would it be worth, like, even if someone is like a horrible person and they do all this stuff to people and, you know, like, people hate them, would it be okay to, like, wipe someone off the planet for money, especially if they're a bad person? Like, so it basically just kind of goes to that conversation of like, well, I mean, so this is a form of like a mystery type of thriller. Well, I'm not gonna say thriller, but it's definitely like a mystery. And I thought it was like a very interesting book. It literally took me 2 whole days to read it. This book was my book. I read like the first like 200 pages, and then I read the audiobook to finish the rest of it. So the last book I read is Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. And let me just say, I am an actual wimp. I am like the most sensitive child ever. I cannot read books that are going through such traumatic, horrific experiences such as like slavery and just, you know, like harming people in that way and abusing people in that way. It's just so hard for me to read books like this, but I had to read this for my history class. I did have a lot of help. This book is by Harriet Jacobs, who was a slave in North Carolina that I actually never heard of until I took this class that I'm taking. And you're basically reading about her life to freedom. And I just think this book is really interesting due to the fact that this book was published in like the late 1800s, and it was written by Harriet Jacobs herself. And she had to go under a pen name, especially due to the fact that she was a Black woman. And so for the longest time, everyone thought that this lady named Linda wrote the book, which is what her pen name was, when in actuality, Harriet Jacobs, which is what she changed her name to when she ran away from slavery. The very first thing that she says is, "Reader, be assured, this narrative is no fiction. I am aware that some of my adventures may seem incredible, but they are nevertheless strictly true. I have not exaggerated the wrongs inflicted by slavery. On the contrary, my descriptions fall far short of the facts." She talks about how, like, from her childhood of up until she was 6, that she didn't know she was a slave, and that she had like she'd never seen her parents cry, she'd never seen her parents, you know, be beaten, and you know, like, she basically did not know that she was a slave until, as she got older, she saw some, like, people being beaten and all of this other type of stuff. Like, as she got older, to the age of 6, she saw like things happen that she was pretty sure it wasn't supposed to be happening, and she didn't really understand why, because she was a child, but how her parents did the best they could into letting her have a happy childhood. Her first like master and his mistress, which is what they call them in the book, they actually teach her and the other slaves how to read and how to write. And they're more so what you would call like a nice like slave owner, even though I hate having to say that, but I mean, honestly, although all of it is completely disgusting, it's completely despicable, completely beyond inhumane, still there were like masters that literally like beat their slaves and killed them and tortured them for the fun of it. So she does have a master and a mistress at this time that are not doing that to her. But I really do think it's important how much this book focuses on the abuse of slavery towards women, because she talks about how, like, she knows that you guys have heard about Frederick Douglass, and she knows that you guys have heard about all these men that have been put through horrific events as a man in slavery and not having the power as a man to be able to change that at the time being. But she was like, no, but let me tell you what you go through as a woman in slavery. Let's talk about how much trauma you go through when you have to lose child after child and watch your own child be taken in chains, and there is nothing you can do about it. And how even if you do try to do something, not only will you die, but you'll die not knowing what happens to your child. And it's just like so deep. It's literally just like so deep. And oh my gosh, this book is just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say about it. And also, I am just like super impressed on how this book is written. Like, I'm not going to lie, for someone that doesn't have a formal education, like literally freaking, I do not understand how this book does not have an award on it. The stuff that she says and like the comparisons and analogies that she makes is like above my head, and I have a formal education, so I'm just like, Harriet, yes, yes. Sorry guys, my camera cut off at this point, but you guys get my point, right? Okay, so I read through my little like writing thing. Hopefully I didn't forget any books. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't know what I was gonna say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really deeply appreciate it. I really greatly appreciate it. Please comment down below if you guys have read any of these books, or if you guys would like to read any of these books. I love having conversations with you guys. And yeah, hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys. Alright, and I also wanted to add in the fact that I am still going to be making my Black Booktuber tag, even though it is no longer Black History Month, because I mean, why not still make it? I will be doing my Black Booktuber tag, so thank you guys so much for those of you that tagged me.